The megacorps are fighting for dominance in Tau Ceti. Across multiple colony sites and maybe even some in-orbit carcasses, once called ships, these factions seek to exert their power in the far reaches of space to profit. Sekaguchi wants the proliferation of their biomata and consciousness technology to proliferate in such a way that humanity ultimately becomes reliant upon it, leaving them in charge of the fate of humanity. Traxxas seeks to gain control over what they view as company assets, the Marathon and the colonies it established that were reliant upon Traxxas technology, and they feel that the UESC isn't strong enough to repel their attempts at monopolizing the extrasolar market. And New Caloric seeks to, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with burgers, T9 cheeseburgers maybe. These companies are vying for control, and they have been the impetus for much of the story we've gotten so far. And their desires will surely push us into further conflict when we teleport to Tau Ceti 4 proper, hopefully soon. But behind the chaos, one company stands to gain no matter who wins in Tau Ceti: CyberAcme. In the new game, we are introduced to CyberAcme via Oni, CyberAcme's very own AI agent. Oni is unique from the other agents that we meet, though, as Oni serves not just as an agent for CyberAcme, giving out contracts, but also as the voice players here in-game for events, the match start and end times, and even some unsettling rampant one-liners delivered at random due to Oni's exposure to the anomaly on Tau Ceti 4. So far, we have only seen CyberAcme operate as a tutorial faction in this new game, giving out a handful of contracts that introduce runners to the main mechanics within the game. In what could be a build-up to a future narrative revolving around the runners themselves, Oni does state that the reason for needing these tutorial missions is due to, quote, unusual durability damage during your last run.
Greetings, runner. This is the onboard navigational intelligence, Oni if you prefer, CyberAcme's dedicated AI guide. We are currently communicating through a direct neural interface. Your shell sustained unusual durability damage during your last run. As a result, CyberAcme protocol dictates you undertake a brief reorientation.
This seems to indicate that on some deeper level, CyberAcme has greater control over the runners and their consciousness. Oni even appears to be the AI testing Glitch and Void in the cinematic. CyberAcme appears to even have some level of cooperation with the UESC, as we see UESC markings scroll across Oni's screen throughout the cinematic. CyberAcme is woven into all of the groups we have seen in the game so far, and this makes more sense when you understand their rather quiet existence within Marathon even in the original games. CyberAcme appears in the terminals of the original games as well, an apparent operating system that at the very least the UESC was wholly reliant on. This position as the Microsoft of the Marathon universe is also curious to see, since the other factions seem to not view them as competitors. Nowhere in the ARG or in-game materials do we really see any hostility towards CyberAcme from the factions. Much like Arachne, they're not really referenced. Unlike Arachne, I don't think that this is tied to any covert existence. Rather, I think that CyberAcme is such an overwhelming source of software technology that it is impossible to exist without them. Bungie had sold shirts for the factions around the 2023 reveal, and even included a t-shirt for CyberAcme. This may seem out of place given the previously mentioned lack of impact on the story, but the description for the shirt seems telling. Quote, CyberAcme, everything runs on CyAc, or nothing runs at all. If our interpretation of CyberAcme's position in the universe is accurate, and their prevalence is indicative of them being overwhelmingly relied upon for the software infrastructure which powers the computer-driven world of Marathon, then they may very well be the most powerful faction in existence. But then why would these companies build platforms that are reliant on CyberAcme? Surely they would see the potential issues that could arise out of another company having the ability to cripple your business if they were to remove your access to their technology. I think that there are two answers to this question. It could be that CyberAcme's software is so advanced that no other corporation could develop something that would compete with it. an operating system that had been in existence long before the advent of AI proper in the late 21st century, that was bolstered throughout hundreds of years of development by superintelligent computers. This could have led to some kind of encryption or software design that was so advanced that the work it would take to reproduce something equivalent would have not been possible, and thus the corporations, in order to advance their own technology, were forced into becoming reliant on CyberAcme. This positions CyberAcme atop the corporate world, but also outside of it in the sense that they could have no real competition. Now, the factions exist under this reality, and that is why it is not discussed as a relevant issue because CyberAcme creates the framework that all of this is built upon, and competing with them is a moot point. The other option I feel is possible is that CyberAcme was some kind of conglomerative effort by people or AI to create an operating system that would power the ever advancing tech of Marathon outside the control of people. Now, I'm not saying that an AI was given complete control of CyberAcme and told to purely develop an OS that was future-proof, because I don't think people would put that much trust into AI, but possibly some sort of treaty or legal ruling was put into place that would allow CyberAcme services to be funded while eliminating its ability to compete in the market. This could have been backed up by some sort of technology that would cause the entirety of the system to collapse if it favored any one group or individual. This would give a reason for why Traxxas and the UESC are both simultaneously comfortable being reliant upon them. This also leaves room for individual organizations to have their own proprietary OS that they may use internally. While it might not be competitive with what CyberAcme offers, this would still allow them to feel comfortable using the system to engage with external resources, knowing that its integrity is built into its foundation. Perhaps the corruption of CyberAcme's integrity via Oni's exposure to the anomaly in Tau Ceti could lead to a Y2K-style collapse of the computing systems even back in Seoul. This could be an interesting plot point in later seasons that further complicates the exchanges between the factions and, inevitably, the Four. All of this further points to the true power that CyberAcme holds. The immortality of the runners relies on CyberAcme's consciousness uploads. We even have Oni directly stating at the end of the tutorial contracts that they have, quote, granted permission to the megacorps to offer you contracts. While the biosynthetic forms themselves are a result of Sekiguchi technology, it is clear by this statement that it is CyberAcme who truly controls the runners. Could this permission be revoked? What would happen if CyberAcme did start to have goals of its own? Or if it does already, what are they? Perhaps CyberAcme's seemingly neutral position between the factions is an illusion. There could be some level of interference they are doing at such a technologically deep level that the other factions may have no idea what is going on. Are they changing historical records in UESC libraries? Are they spying on Traxxas's internal communications? Are they assisting MITA hackers to change the course of the story? These are all little ways that CyberAcme could be influencing the narrative of Marathon without any of us having any knowledge of it going on. CyberAcme has been at the center of the story the whole time. Its constant appearance across all the terminals we have accessed and their looming presence in the new game is eerie, to say the least. In a world where everyone is vying for control or power, it is unsettling to have a giant capable of crushing all of the imposing megacorps we interact with looming in the background. I don't know how they will be expanded upon, but the way I see it, no matter who loses, CyberAcme wins. Let me know what you think about CyberAcme and how they may have an impact in the story of the upcoming game in the comments, and I will see you later. All right, love you undefined. Bye.